The prayer will be offered by the amazing delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
May we all still ourselves and bow our heads. O God, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Thank you for bringing us back to this house for a second time this evening to do the work for your people. Anchor us in your love, your peace, and your truth. Guide our steps and help us to exemplify you in all that we do. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Anyone in the back? Give people 1 second. Okay. The clerk will call the roll. There being 133 members present, the House is in session. Petitions, memorials, and other papers. Is he not doing it? Okay. So we have, first I want to say thank you. This is impressive that you all came on time. And thank you again for the earlier discussion. It was really, really civil and respectful. So now we have a layover calendar, and that is House Bill 444. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 444, Public Safety, Immigration Enforcement Agreements, Prohibition. Favor report is amended, adopted. Amendment number 1.
Thank you. And I'm recognizing the maker of the motion, and it's the delegate from Baltimore County. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Did you get to eat something?
I did. Thank you.
That's good.
Good.
I
Good to
did
see
not
you.
finish my meal.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate the time to look over this bill, and I encourage the body to read it thoroughly. So I think the point of note here is that even absent of programs, 287G programs that are implemented in coordination with the federal government, many jurisdictions in the state, including mine, Baltimore County, for this or other purposes, will frequently implement what's called a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU. And an MOU is, frankly, it's just a formalized agreement. It's used to say this is how we're going to operate in this circumstance or another. And the striking part of this bill is the way what it does misaligns with the way Maryland's political leadership talks about the issue. This has been framed as a paramilitary operation, kicking down doors. The people who execute these functions are desk jobs. They literally sit at a desk all day and facilitate transfers for some of the worst criminals in the state. And the way that we've talked about this issue, the way that we've framed this discussion.
Delegate, are you on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Can you do us a favor and explain the amendment again so that we can follow you, since we last saw this last week?
Yes, absolutely. So the amendment requires notification 48 hours before a detainee is released, and to facilitate the transfer of the detainee as long as they don't detain that person past the point of the time which they have to serve. So we've described this as knocking down doors, militant people in masks, and that frankly that couldn't be further from the truth. What's governed in this bill are not only 287G agreements, but frankly just formal agreements with a jurisdiction in the federal government as to how this works. And while many people would like to see 287G agreements eliminated, I'm really struggling to see how any sort of organization with the federal government exists regarding the transfer of a person who has been convicted of a crime and detained. You're going to eliminate that completely. And I think, I'm struggling to see as to why we would handcuff our law enforcement in cases where we have a person, and again, I want to be very clear about who we're talking about. These are circumstances in which there is a crime, there's been an investigation, a person has been identified, the person has been charged and convicted, subsequently detained, and at that point it was found that there is a detainer request for that person. So these are convicted criminals we're talking about here. So this is actually a very, very small percentage of people in Maryland and people in our detention centers. And I think what Marylanders should know about this is that we're really handcuffing a very vital and fundamental function of law enforcement here. So I think whether you have concerns about what's happening with immigration policy or you like 287G policies, I think we should put in place a way to say, okay, if we have the number 2 on the international most wanted list for gang crimes, that we're not going to release that person back into society without attempting to make a proper transfer within the rights of that person without detaining them past their time of sentencing. So I think this is a very good government amendment. I think this is a public safety amendment that honors the rights of every detainee, but also acknowledges the public safety concerns. And with that, I'd move the amendment.
The floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker,
You're
and thank you to the good delegate from Baltimore County for providing this amendment ahead of time. Body, I'm going to ask the body to resist this amendment. This amendment actually isn't really needed. It's actually what is already done in practice, and so it's unnecessary, to be quite honest, with the body. Federal immigration authorities are going to receive notice prior to the release of anyone who is in custody. It doesn't specify whether they've been convicted for a crime or they're just in a local detention center, but nevertheless, they're going to receive notice anyway. And so for those reasons, this amendment is not necessary. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome. Recognizing the gentleman from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Hey, could the maker of the amendment answer a couple questions for me?
Good evening.
Hey, good evening. So we laid this bill over on Friday, and sitting in my house, scrolling through my phone, I saw this really interesting news story dealing with what I think this amendment is Friday night. Friday night, Channel 7, ABC, WJLA, reported that this guy named Rafael Aguilar, who was, by court records, standing over his victims with a knife saying, "I'm going to kill you," stabbed the man, and then it turned out that he was originally arrested for attempted murder, and then he pled down to a lesser charge. He served 141 days in jail, and then ICE put a detainer on him when he was in jail, just like we were talking Friday that it worked. And then Prince George's County let him go without turning him over to ICE.
Right.
And the news story reads, ICE blasts Prince George's County after illegal immigrant convicted of stabbing is released.
Right.
Would your amendment fix this problem?
Yeah, that's what it attempts to do, and it does so, again, without detaining a person past their time of sentencing. But I think what should be recognized is, in some jurisdictions, such as Prince George's, I'm not even sure, because after you read the stories of some examples of these releases, I don't think there's certainly not a level set of what we do with these cases across the state. I don't think there is a level set of what we do in jurisdictions where there is no 287G agreement. I don't know what we're going to do in any of the jurisdictions if and when we do I mean, you're not only abolishing 287G agreements under this bill, you're abolishing formalized just understandings of how things are going to operate. So that's what I'm attempting to get at here, and I don't know how our jurisdictions are going to operate short some sort of agreement.
Thank you. Would the floor leader, could you answer a question or two for me? Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, you just told the body to reject this amendment and that was not needed. Looks like we need it.
So I read that exact same article that you read over the weekend. And if you read through the article, you will see that the person, the judge released that person based on time served. And so they were not in our local detention center at that time, nor were they incarcerated in any type of correctional institution at that time. And so the judge ordered that person to be immediately released. And actually, Prince George's County did hold that person for a couple of hours to wait for ICE to get there. And when ICE did not show up, after notifying them, Prince George's County released that person.
Yeah,
and that's how it would work once we eliminate these 287G agreements, everyone. That is how the process will work. It will continue to work in that manner in every county here in the state of Maryland, just like it worked in Prince George's County, where there was a detainer, ICE was notified, they failed to pick him up, and therefore he was released.
So in the story, it does say 2 hours. So ICE had 2-hour notice to come pick this guy up and just couldn't get there in time, and they let him go. With the gentleman's amendment, it says 48 hours. So it would have been on the due diligence of the jail that he was serving in 141 days to notify that they could possibly get out before his court trial. But it sounds like a good amendment.
But there was also an order from the judge that he be released immediately. So are you saying that we should have violated the court order, saying that he was being released immediately? I don't think so, and neither would any other person do that.
No, the gentleman's amendment says 48 hours ahead. So if he was let out on Friday, they should have let ICE know on Wednesday. This is a possibility. And I think that's where we're at as a party.
I knew he was in the local detention center. There was a detainer on file for him.
Yes.
But I think we're conflating the point. The point is that the process works, and therefore this amendment is not needed. That is really the point.
Okay, on the amendment, Madam Speaker, it's clearly the process doesn't work because he's out running around Prince George's County. Again, could you ask me, just riddle me this question, how does that make your citizens any safer? That you have a convicted person who's convicted of stabbing with no ties to this community, not turned over ICE. Go ahead.
You know, I just wanted to clarify the record. Actually, he is not running the streets of Prince George's County. Right. If you continue to read the article further states that after he was released, ICE did pick him up. Yep. And so he is currently being detained as we speak by ICE. So he's actually not running the streets. I just wanted to clarify that point.
Which is the exact same scenario we've been trying to avoid, not turning Maryland into Minnesota, where ICE is picking people up off the street and not in the jails. We want them to pick up and transfer in the jails because that's the safest place to transfer. This isn't political. This is common sense. I asked the body to exercise some common sense. Overwhelmingly, your citizens want this. We have polled the heck out of this. Last year, we have polled this question to death. Last one came back at 84%, including 90% of African Americans once you introduce the crime that they've committed. If you poll just the regular 287G, it comes back at 54%. So this is a common sense amendment that would keep criminals like Raphael Aguilar off the street and stopping them from harming victims. I ask for a green vote on this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Howard County. You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I have a question for the floor leader, please?
Would the floor leader yield, please?
Floor leader, upgrade.
I'm looking at the amendment that's been offered.
I didn't know we switched floor leaders. Okay, yes, go ahead.
At the amendment that's been offered, I know I heard something about 48 hours, but isn't the second provision, or doesn't it read, transfer the individual to federal immigration authorities provided that the transfer does not extend the time in custody? of the individual beyond the individual's scheduled release.
That is correct.
So from what I understand in this one particular case that's being discussed, the scheduled release time was when the judge said so.
Correct.
So the bill as we have it without this amendment would do essentially what this amendment does, which would not allow for him to be held for 48 hours as our colleague seems to think it would. Is that correct?
That is correct. If this amendment were enacted, it would not have prevented the situation that was on Channel 7 News that the colleague from Southern Maryland described. That person would have still been released because a judge ordered him to be immediately released.
And in fact, from what you said earlier, it would do nothing more than the bill that we have without the amendment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the amendment, the first problem is, as a corrections professional, I started my career as Chief of Staff to the Commissioner of Corrections in this state. Everybody that is released, we run a warrants check. You look in the system to see if there are any warrants, if there are any detainers, if there's any reason to hold this person beyond what we are constitutionally allowed to do. And if it is, then we contact that person, contact the agency so that person can be picked up. And in Prince George's County, the county where I'm from, that's exactly what happened. ICE was notified. They spoke with Agent McClure. Agent McClure never said they were coming to pick him up. We were under a court order to release this person, and our county is not going to break the law when ICE doesn't effectively communicate. Had they said, we're on our way, we're coming, he would have been held. That is the professional courtesy that takes place in corrections facilities by corrections professionals. It did not happen in this situation. Second thing, our county executive ran the tape, looked at the footage all night, beyond the 2 hours. ICE never showed up. ICE never called. So the problem with the amendment, and I appreciate the thought, is that we don't always know 48 hours in advance in corrections when a person's going to be released. So by saying that we have to notify an agency or run a records check 48 hours in advance when somebody goes to court today and a judge orders them released today, we wouldn't be able to be in compliance with this law. So for that reason, I think that the amendment is not needed. And more importantly, I trust our correction professionals in this state, whether they're state professionals, county, or local. They are making the calls. There are a lot of informal agreements in a lot of these very liberal counties where they are calling ICE and people are being picked up. And so the system is working. Could it work better? Yes, but I think there are other ways to do it. And so unfortunately, I won't be able to vote for this because I just don't think logistically we're always going to know 48 hours in advance that someone has been ordered by a judge to be released. But I do appreciate the intent of the amendment, and I believe our officers are doing that. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
welcome. Would the maker of the amendment arise for a few questions, please?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. So could you just walk me through again what kind of agreements we're talking about here? What kind of agreements you think this amendment would cover potentially?
Well, I think first and foremost, I mean, it covers agreements like Baltimore County's agreements. We don't have a 287G program, but we have a memorandum of understanding where the county has talked with the federal government.
Can the gentleman be so kind and put the microphone close?
I apologize, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Where they have talked with the federal government and come to an understanding and put that on paper. I think it also governs agreements like Harford County. You know, they have a formalized 287G agreement. All of those will be eliminated.
So,
and for the record, when a jurisdiction says we have a informal agreement, therein lies the problem, because I don't really think anybody in this body understands what that means, and I think there's probably a varying degree of implementation.
how was the process, to your knowledge, working in Baltimore County before we had a more formalized MOU in place?
A bit of a mess, and I think that's why they adopted the Memorandum of Understanding. Consider what an MOU is. It's just saying, we've had a conversation, and going forward, this is how we're going to operate.
Okay.
That is in addition to 287G, that is what this bill, you're abolishing two parties coming together and having a discussion and saying this is what we're going to do.
Sure. So to sort of quantify that, what you're saying there, a bit of a mess. So between October 1, 2022 and September 30th, 2023, and this is reported on in many different news outlets, there were 81 immigration detainers in Baltimore County. Either 56 or 57 of those were ignored, meaning 70% of those detainers were ignored. In fact, it was such a problem that the county executive at the time, County Executive Oshevsky at the time, proactively entered into an agreement with immigration enforcement because he wanted to solve this problem. So if without this amendment, would that MOU that we have now in Baltimore County, which is protected citizens in my district, would that go away?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what everybody here should remember is it's a bit of a mess. You know, what Prince George's has said today is they helped someone past their point of detention, even if it's just 2 hours. Let's start there. And I think the other half of this is while some jurisdictions may have an informal agreement, we have proof positive that the implementation, the enforcement of that is completely and utterly sporadic, and we have the numbers that prove that. And we're just, what we should be doing is just saying, this is the baseline. We're not going to hold them past their time of detention, but we have a standard expectation of all the jurisdictions short of a 287G agreement.
Okay, thank you. Madam Speaker, on the amendment, so for the reasons that my colleague from Baltimore County just stated, the MOU that we have in Baltimore County is protecting citizens in my district. It's protecting citizens throughout Baltimore County. There was a reason that our former county executive entered into that MOU because he recognized what was going on in Baltimore County without an agreement like this in place. And for those reasons, that's why I will be voting in the green on this amendment.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? The clerk will take the call. There being 36 votes in the negative, no, yeah, 100 votes in the negative. Sorry, the amendment fails.
Madam Speaker.
Are there any other additional amendments to the bill to its title, recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have one more amendment. The amendment number is 843624.
Amendment number 1.
Moves to be considered the reading of the amendment.
So order.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome.
This amendment abolishes in Maryland arrest quotas, police enforcement via drones, unmanned aerial surveillance without a warrant, and no-knock warrants in the state of Maryland. You know, Madam Speaker, I'm a bit of a civil libertarian, and I've had a lot of strong thoughts about policing in this country for a long time. And what really rubs me the wrong way about this bill is that we characterize what's happening with detainers in a way that paints police in a really negative light. Like, the whole thing, frankly, has been very unfortunate. But I think we actually do have real issues with law enforcement in this state, and frankly, I think they've been ignored for a long time. And I'd like to reflect on some
May I ask you one favor?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain the amendment, please?
Yes, I'll explain it one more time.
Yeah, let's explain the amendment.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure. The amendment does 4 things. It bans the use of arrest quotas. In other words, you can't promote or demote or discipline a law enforcement officer based on the number of arrests he makes. That's the first thing. Second thing it does is it says you cannot use drones as a matter of law enforcement. The third thing it does is it says you can't use unmanned surveillance planes without a warrant. And the fourth thing it does is it bans no-knock warrants.
Let's listen.
Thank you. So I've listened to a lot of the discussion tonight. And a lot of these issues, frankly, I think we've ignored for many years. I've talked about a lot of them in judiciary. We've covered.
Can we please just listen? Thank you.
Thank you kindly, Madam
Go ahead.
Speaker. So, we talked about the impact on minority communities. I don't know if you're all aware of this, but we have a series of arrest quotas where the local jurisdiction will tell their officers, you have to maintain a certain amount of arrests in your jurisdiction, or we will not promote you, we will demote you. Officers in this state have been assigned to police swamps for a lack of enforcement. They've been completely blackballed. There have been documentaries where law enforcement officers said we cannot actually achieve our quotas, and instead of the white part of their district they police, they have to go into the black and brown part of their district that they police, and those are their words. They have to arrest people, they have to pull them off the street just to make their numbers. And I think that's wrong. And you'd be surprised when I sponsored that bill, how many people came out of the woodworks. It's not just local jurisdictions, it's the sheriff offices, it's the state police. I have had officers send me emails where their commanding officer told me the person who got the most arrests was going to get a new car. In the state police jurisdiction, I don't know if you saw this on social media, but there was a candy box put out and said the person who got their numbers could have a free candy bar or something else. I don't know what that something else is. I don't think we're paying attention to that issue. The gentleman from Prince George's mentioned the infringement of our constitutional rights, lack of due process. I remember a few years back, Baltimore City decided to launch unmanned aerial surveillance in its jurisdiction. That's a weapon of war. That's a remnant of the Iraq war, the war in Iraq. They tried to do it in California. They said it's unconstitutional. They tried to do it in Ohio. They said it's unconstitutional. They came to Maryland, and we were like, sign us up. Sign us up for spy planes. How about drones in law enforcement? How does that sound to everybody? Think about what's happening in places like the United Kingdom. Rape gangs, unabated, people being arrested for posts on social media and thrown in jail for 11 years. How does a future... Oh, kids are calling. Sorry.
You want to stop and go get it?
No,
I'm just kidding.
It's all right. It's all right.
You know, I always take my kids' calls.
I know. How does that sound? How does it sound? I've talked to people who live in other countries where drones were used not only for in response to law enforcement requests, but proactively. How does that sound now that we have places like Montgomery County, Baltimore County using drones in law enforcement? It sounds terrible to me. And you know, we've discussed. Sorry, I can't hear, Madam Speaker. Thank you. We've discussed ICE knocking down doors, serving warrants. Well, we have people getting slaughtered in their bed and no-knock warrant executions here in Maryland for crimes that were not crimes. So I think the fact that we could take such, frankly, a sterile issue and demagogue about police to the point where we're actually ready to shackle their hands for basic law enforcement functions. But in these Democrat jurisdictions, we have some real fascism building up around us. I think it's very dark. And I think the civil libertarians have been right for a long time. I think we've ignored these issues for a long time. I think there's a real chance that censorship in the surveillance state comes here to Maryland. And I think this is a good opportunity to take action against what I think is actual real fascism. So I think this is a good idea. I think you should take a look and support the amendment, and I'd move the amendment.
The floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I appreciate the delegates' concern for public safety and to just really ensure that our law enforcement officers are doing the job that they should do. However, I'm going to ask the body to resist the amendment. I'm going to tell you why. Number one, all of these provisions that the delegates spoke of are already in a bill that is scheduled to be heard before the Judiciary Committee on February 24th. So, on February 24th, we will have our bill hearing on House Bill 398, House Bill 464, House Bill 471, that contains all of these various provisions that are in this amendment. And we will deal with these really important issues at that time, because I do think that there are important issues for us to discuss. However, they're just not applicable, probably not proper in this bill. The amendments would apply to local law enforcement, not federal law enforcement. But again, we can have that discussion about whether or not this should apply to local law enforcement here in the state, and we will do that. We will start that conversation on February 24th. And so for those reasons, I am going to ask this body to resist this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, when folks talk about the isms, the communism, the fascism, I actually like this a lot, because it really allows us an opportunity to explore what we're doing and what the laws are. And, you know, I know I have how many times have we heard a bill? They're usually my bills. And we've been talking about these issues for 5 years, 10 years. And it's ironic that we never actually act to protect people's constitutional rights. But the first time we get an opportunity to handcuff police, we do it in 3 weeks. So I think now's a pretty good time. I'd ask for support, and I'd ask for a roll call.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose? No. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
You guys are so funny. Okay. Has everyone recorded their vote? The clerk will take the call. There being 118 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Okay, hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Letters of reassignment. The clerk will read the letter.
House Bill 386, reassigned to Appropriations, Environment and Transportation.
Here,
House
no,
Bill
I'm sorry.
559, reassigned to Environment and Transportation.
You can see that I want to get out of here.
Reassigned to Appropriations and Environment Transportation.
Are you done now? All right. Hearing no objection, the letters are ordered journalized. Sorry. All right. Whew. That ends the work at the desk. All right. Give yourselves a hand. Come on, you're done. Delegation announcements. Any delegation announcements? Seeing none. We're doing, 1 second. All right, let's do committee announcements. Any committee announcement? None? Okay. So let's do caucus announcement, recognizing the Latino caucus, and then I'm going to go to the rural caucus.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, it is breakfast with the governor tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the Latino caucus. See you first thing. Thank you.
Thank you. The rural caucus?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The rural caucus will be meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Recognizing the Democratic caucus.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, the House Democratic Caucus will be meeting tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. in room 150 of the House Office Building. Thank you.
Thank you. Wait. I know I'm going to get this right. 1 second. Which one is him? caucus, the Watermen's Caucus. Did I get it right?
Republican caucus.
Oh, Republican Caucus. You usually get up for the Watermen's Caucus. You want to confuse me?
Madam Speaker,
Go ahead.
tonight we didn't have the Watermen's Caucus. We had an extended session.
Yes.
It was an important night for the Watermen's Caucus, but, you know, we had to stay on the floor and we have business here, so.
Thank you.
I'm standing now as the Republican Caucus Chair.
All right.
Let you all know, tomorrow morning, 8:45, we'll be meeting in room 145, 8:45 a.m.
Any other caucus announcements? Seeing none, we're going to go to personal or guest announcements. All right, recognizing the delegate from Howard County.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
we want to thank the residents of District 9 that came out for District 9 night, some of whom might be here. But anyway, we want to thank them and give them big hands.
There they are. Recognizing the delegate from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I did want to recognize the doctor of the day real quick, Dr. Lane Neidig, MD, dermatologist, founder of Modern Dermatology of Maryland in Annapolis, and he is a resident of District 33B. He's in the front here to our right. Give him a wave. If you need a check, stop by and see him. And real quick, Madam Speaker, if I may, personal privilege.
Absolutely.
The Lovers Caucus wants to remind you about Blood Drive Wednesday. We have doubled our signups, and even if you don't get signed up, you can still show up and give blood. No tattoos in the next 48 hours. We've had that problem in the past. Wednesday, Blood Drive. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You are welcome. Any other person or guest announcement? Recognizing, the delegate from Baltimore County sitting in the front.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My pleasure.
There's a famous poem that says, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? That's sort of the sentiment behind the Jewish holiday of Tu B'Shvat, which is today. It's a day for celebrating nature and the environment, especially trees and forests, which are a powerful symbol in Judaism. Around the world, at least where there's no snow or ice, people might celebrate with fruit tastings and plantings. And since we've already had our share of snow and ice, let's hope that spring and warmer temperatures aren't far behind. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to recognize the Minority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Tonight was District 4 night, and we do have some guests that came from Frederick, maybe even one that I'm married to somewhere. But we appreciate them coming, and they get to see some activity down here. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore, then the delegate from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I ask you to welcome the 11th District members who came here today for 11th District night, number one. I think some of them might still be in the gallery. And number two, Madam Speaker, I wanted to announce to the floor that this is the first of my 24 years that I've been doing this that I did not get into the Chesapeake Bay for the polar bear plunge. However, and I don't know if any delegates made it because, I'm sorry, we do have, may I use permission to use delegate's name?
Oh, she deserves it, yes.
Chairman and Delegate Bagnall made it into the Chesapeake Bay plunge. And the governor also made it in. He made it in, I think, through to his ankles.
The lieutenant governor also made it in.
The lieutenant governor, who we used to do it together. Madam Speaker, I just want to let everybody know that the Special Olympians of Maryland were able to raise nearly $4 million, $3.974 million for all these Special Olympians, and we're hoping to actually raise a little bit more as the days go on because we have one more plunge for students because it was too cold for them to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your service, recognizing the wonderful delegate from Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
On
welcome.
behalf of the 47th District, thank each and every one of you all for coming out to our district night. And also, I do believe I do have a couple guests that's here, which is my children, young adults, so they're still from the 47. I just want to say thank you all so much. And thank you, Madam Speaker, for making sure that we had a break to be able to do so. Thank you all.
You're welcome. Any other personal or guest announcement recognizing the delegate from Howard?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Earlier, at the earlier session, you all announced the Maryland History Day teachers, and you gave the list of the students. Some of those students weren't here at 3 because they had gone to school, but they're here now, so that's number one. So I just thought it would be nice for us to acknowledge their presence here. And then, if I may,
yes.
In addition, tonight we have with us medical students from Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, and our brand new Meritus Medical School, the osteopathic school that opened. And with us are the first students, the second-year students who are with us from there. So we have medical students. We'd like to thank them for coming out in the rear back.
Any other personal or guest announcements? Seeing none, may we please introduce the pages, because today is Monday, and I will now recognize the protocol chair from Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Come on down, St. John's. You have done a wonderful job today. Didn't they, delegates? I'm going to try to get through this because I'm just as tired as everybody else. So I'm going to get through this pretty fast, Madam Speaker.
That will be wonderful.
Are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. OPMA and deny. Yeah. I got that. I think I got it. Okay. Baltimore City, District 45, Mercy High School. Mark Anthony, Prince George's County, District 24, Bowie High School. Allison Argueta, Montgomery County, District 19, Wheaton High School. Alexander Fisher, Hartford County, District 35A, Boston High School. Maya Gammy, Howard County, District 9A, River Hill High School. Milan Lee, Baltimore County, District 10, Garrison Falls School. Noah Morris, at large, Montgomery County, District 39, Home School. Okay, Worcester County, District 38C, Stephen Decatur High School. Oh my God, I got through that. Thank you. I pulled it off. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Thank you, my sunshines. I appreciate you. The Madam Speaker appreciate you. I want you to go home and get you some sleep, okay? And not just you, but all you wonderful delegates, okay? Have a good night. Thank you.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. There being 136 members present, the House is still in session. Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move that the House stands adjourned until Tuesday, February 3rd at 10 o'clock a.m.
Again, thank you, everyone. Have a